In this quick tips video, I have an idea that will hopefully change the way you think about things a little bit without giving you too much of an existential crisis. My name is Josh Gu, and I'm taking my years of experience learning, teaching, and performing, and sharing all of my best clarinet and music tips so you can get more out of your practice, and most importantly, have fun. You can learn more about all of my many resources at quickstartclarinet.com, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit the bell to get notified when I post new videos. When it comes to classical music especially, I think the way that we go about learning it and sort of figuring out how to be a classical musician is in a very defensive way. And I think pretty much all of my training was this way, and I think pretty much everybody's training is this way. And before I forget, I want to give a shout out to Robert Baldwin with the My Music Genesis YouTube channel. A lot of the stuff that he talks about is related to music learning theory and the sort of Gordon approach to music education, which I think is fantastic. And he really turned me on to some of these ideas that really has me rethinking both how I teach music and actually how I music myself and how I think about music. And I did get exposed to some of these ideas in my sort of education and my formal education, but not very much in sort of the traditional pathways of playing in ensembles, taking lessons, and those kinds of things we typically think about when it comes to being a musician and learning classical music. So what I mean about this kind of defensive approach is that we're always trying to not play wrong. We're continuously trying to think, okay, my teacher said don't do this, or my teacher said make sure to do this, so I gotta make sure that I don't do it the wrong way. And we're constantly in this sort of defensive state of like, oh, I hope that that doesn't go wrong, I hope that that doesn't go wrong, and we're hyper aware of all of the things that could go wrong. And the shift that I want you to make and consider is to start thinking about what you actually want and how things can go right. Ultimately, I hope that idea can encourage a shift from thinking I have to do something correctly to realizing that you actually get to create something and share something. And that's what music is really about. When we do something and when we play music, we're connecting with others and we're sort of sharing our creativity with others. And I think that's what makes music so special. And at the core of music making is what it's really about, is sharing something that we're creating with our community, whether it's with the audience, whether it's with our colleagues that we're playing with. It's our opportunity to make something and to share something special. And having heard many amazing live performances of many clarinetists and other musicians, the ones that stick with me are the ones where I can tell the person on stage is creating something special. If you think of Yo-Yo Ma, amazing musician, super duper famous, there's tons of people who can play the Bach cello pieces really beautifully and really wonderfully. But when you hear Yo-Yo Ma do it, there's something special to it and there's something different. And I think that little bit of difference in that specialness is not that he's playing it more in tune than anybody else or at a faster speed than anybody else or more technically perfect than anybody else. I think it's because he's sharing more of himself and more of his creativity and bringing his creativity to it. So I think that's the thing that we should do no matter what level we're at. If you're learning Twinkle Twinkle or working on whatever advanced scary crazy music you're working on, never forget that you're sharing your music and you're sharing yourself. And that's why sometimes it can be so painful and hurtful when you get negative feedback or critiques from people, because you put something out there that you took care in to create, and then somebody said that that wasn't good or that wasn't okay or that wasn't good enough. And that feels like what you created, that sort of piece of yourself that you put out there, wasn't good enough for them. And that's another sort of component of the whole music world, especially the classical music world, that I would love to see change, is that we don't critique people so harshly that they're doing things the wrong way. Maybe they aren't doing it the way of tradition, maybe they aren't doing it the way that we like to hear it, but they're doing what they want to do the way that we want, that the way that they want to do it. And I think we should be accepting of that. And yes, there are sort of standards, and if you want to play in the New York Philharmonic, then you need to play those excerpts the way that the New York Philharmonic wants to hear them played. But not everybody wants to play in the New York Philharmonic, and not everybody should have to live up to those kinds of expectations. Any music that we create is valid because that's what making music is about making the music, not about delivering the music perfectly. Especially in this day and age of recordings, if you want to hear it perfect, you can listen to a recording that's probably pretty darn near perfect and probably has hundreds and hundreds of edits to make it sound that way. All right, before I get on too long of a philosophical rant about what music is and the purpose of it, I want to keep this contained to just a quick tip to remind you that next time you go to make music, remember that you're making music. You aren't trying to not be wrong. You're not trying to not make any mistakes. You're there to make music. You're creating something. You're sharing something. So be clear on how you want it to go and work to create that. The last thing I'll say about this is sometimes the instrument can get in the way of creating that, whether it's reeds or just your technical control of the instrument. If you want help getting that control so you can have the freedom to create the music you want and have the instrument as an ally and a tool in that process, then go to quickstartclarinet.com/get-started, where you can get access to my free members area, which has a bunch of helpful tools and resources to get the clarinet under control, so then you can have the freedom to express the music you want and create the music you want. And whether you get that mastery of the instrument or not, you can still create wonderful music that is the music that you want to create. So go do that. Enjoy playing. Thanks so much for watching this video, and I look forward to seeing you in another one. And last but not least, a huge heartfelt thank you to the Dennersons. This is like the Quick Start Clarinet family who supports the channel and helps to make everything that I do possible. If you would like to support the channel and get some awesome rewards in return where we can work one-on-one over video and you can have my full support moving forward on your clarinet journey, then go to quickstartclarinet.com/supporter.